Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to give it a few minutes as people continue to join, but we're so excited to have you here today talking about when is the right time to apply, focusing on our GBS, our Global Business and Society program here at Yale School of Management. So maybe we can do some quick introductions as we're just waiting for people to continue joining. My name is Evelyn Wilson. I'm a Senior Associate Director here at the Yale School of Management for the MAM and the GBS programs admissions teams. So happy to be here today sharing more about our amazing GBS program. And I'm joined by my colleague Matt. So Matt, do you want to say hi and give a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Evelyn. Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Lassance. I'm the Assistant Director for Admissions. Excited to talk a little bit more about when is the right time to apply and talk a little bit more about the program and what you should be thinking about as you take those next steps in considering applying and thinking about when is the right time for you to apply.
Great. Thanks, Matt. So just to give a brief overview of our GBS program, we're not going to dive into too many specifics today. We do have other information session webinars coming up, so you're more than welcome to join those for a little bit of a deeper dive into the program. But just to give a quick overview before we dive into our application rounds. Our GBS program, Global Business and Society program, is a one-year master's program, or it's really 9 months. So it's between August and May each year. It's a fully in-person program. We don't have hybrid or online options at this time. So you do have to, come here to Yale and fully participate in the program in person, which is a great opportunity. And it is a program that's designed to complement a Master in Management or an MIM degree, a MIM degree. So you need to have started or be working towards or completed a MIM degree in order to be eligible for the GBS program. It's also designed as a pre-experience program. So candidates have to have 3 years of work experience or less. So if you have more than 3 years of work experience, you're not eligible for the GBS program. So that's just a quick overview. Again, to take a deeper dive into the curriculum and kind of learn more about the program, please join one of our information sessions, or you can look up one of our previously recorded information sessions right on our website. So today we're really focusing on when is the right time to apply for our GBS program. And there's a couple of different pathways to apply. It doesn't matter to us, which pathway is right for you, but the one that is right for you really depends on where you are in your academic journey. So we basically have a couple of different buckets that students might fall into, and we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about each one of these categories. So just to share, what these categories are, we have this slide, which basically you may be thinking about applying to a MIM program. So if you're currently an undergrad or you're a recent graduate, but you have not yet started a MIM program, maybe you're shopping around for what program is right for you, or you're starting the application process now. Um, you may be interested in our M2M, our 1+1, or our concurrent degree programs. So again, I'm going to talk through all of these options in more detail in a moment. But for now, one category of student may be, those who have not yet begun a MIM program. The second one is students who are currently enrolled in a MIM program. And so if this is where you are in your journey, you could also be interested in our concurrent degree programs, or you could also apply after you have graduated your MIM program. And then the third category is for students who have already completed their MIM program. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the GBS program is designed as a pre-experience program, so you need to have 3 years or less of working experience, but it is totally possible that you may have already completed your MIM program. Maybe you're thinking about going back to school to sharpen up some skills or learn a little bit more about an interest area or an area of focus for you. And so you may very well have already completed a MIM, but looking for a little bit more study. So let's dive into these a little bit further and talk about each of these categories that I mentioned a little bit more specifically. So the first one that I mentioned is our M2M pathways. And so M2M stands for Master to Master. This is for candidates who have not yet begun a MIM program. So again, if you're shopping around, the M2M might be a great opportunity for you. Essentially, the Master to Master, so incorporates two different master's degrees at two different schools. They'll be across two different countries and spanning 2 years. So your year one will be your MIM program, and your year two will be here at Yale at the GBS program. We have three partner schools that we do this M2M program with. HSA in Paris, HKUST in Hong Kong, and UBC Sauder in Vancouver, Canada. So the way this pathway works is that you would apply to both schools at exactly the same time. Um, we will run the application process at the same time, and the entire time we'll be in close contact with our partner school. So we'll be discussing candidates as we're reading, as we're interviewing, and as we're making admissions decisions. So you will receive your admissions decisions independently from the two schools, but the process will be happening together. You'll have interviews from both schools as well. Everything will kind of happen independently, but simultaneously, and we'll be in close communication again with our partner school throughout the entire time. So this is a really nice pathway because it allows you to really know your full journey of your next 2 years before you begin your first year. So you'll know which school you'll start your MIM program at, and then you'll be doing your second year here at Yale. Similarly, we have a 1+1 program with Bocconi and ESSEC Business School. You would also apply to these programs before you begin your MIM program at Bocconi or at ESSEC. So it's a similar sort of style to the M2M. It's two master's degrees across two countries within 2 years. You'll do your year one either at Bocconi or at ESSEC, and then you would be able to come to Yale for your second degree. The difference here is that you would apply and get in to your MIM program first, and then you would also indicate during that process that you're interested in the joint degree with the GBS program. And then once you've been accepted, you will um, go through the application process here at Yale. So you will still know your admissions decision before you begin your MIM program for both schools. So again, it's nice you'll be able to kind of plan out your next 2 years and know what your entire academic program is going to look like. And again, you would do your year one at your MIM school, Bocconi or ESSEC, and then you would come to Yale for the GBS program in your year two. Okay, we also have a concurrent degree program. And the nice thing about a concurrent degree program is that credits from the GBS program will actually get transferred back to your year one school or your MIM school to be counted towards your MIM program. So our concurrent degree, we have partnerships with several different business schools. And you, for the schools that are listed here, you would apply once you have begun your MIM program. So you would apply and get in and then start your MIM program. And then in the beginning, the first year of your MIM program, you would apply to the GBS program. Once you get in, then we will work with your partner school. So we have several listed here: ESMT, HSA, Bocconi, ESSEC, IE, and FGV. And so we would work together with your partners, with our partner school, your MIM school, again, to transfer credits back from the GBS program back to your MIM so that you can graduate from both programs in less time, in just 2 years. So in less time than it would take for you to do both programs one after the other. So that's a really nice opportunity to maximize your time and be able to graduate from two different programs within 2 years. So that's our concurrent degree program. And then lastly, we have our students who have completed their MIM, like I mentioned. So of course, that wouldn't include any credits transferring back or anything like that because you have finished your MIM program, but you can just apply directly to our GBS program in any of our 4 application rounds. And again, you would be completing your 2 degrees within about 2.5 to 3 years, depending on how long it took you to complete your MIM degree. They're just the only difference is there just wouldn't be any overlap between your MIM program and the GBS program. So hopefully that helps give an outline of kind of the different options for combining a MIM program with a GBS program or just doing them both simultaneously. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Matt to talk a little bit more in detail about our timeline and our application rounds.
Thanks, Evelyn. So looking at the M2M timeline, so those three schools again were HKUST, HSA Paris, and UBC Sauder in Canada. When we're looking at those, there are a number of different rounds, and just to kind of give you a timeline of what that looks like, between October and April, a lot of different deadlines, a lot of different things to think about. But you're able to apply in really any of these rounds. The one caveat that I think many people should really take into account is if you're thinking about applying to multiple schools, which you are allowed to do. So let's say, for example, you're interested in applying to UBC in Canada and HEC in France. If you were looking to do that, you'd want to make sure that the deadlines line up. So in this case, you'd be applying, let's say maybe in round one. Okay, you would put in applications for both for round one. No problem at all. It makes things pretty easy for you in that instance. But let's say you're thinking you'd love to do HKUST or UBC, depending on, where you get in. Well, in that case, let's look at January. You might be applying in round two for UBC, but you'd want to make sure that you're applying in round four for HKUST. Essentially, make sure that if you're looking at both schools, that you're going to be applying in the same round or in, a similar time frame so that, when you get your decision back from us, it'll be, kind of around that same time. It just makes it a little bit easier to put everything together on our end and keep everything in line with our partner schools. So this is a little bit of a lineup of what that looks like throughout the year. Really, any of the rounds is a good time to apply. It really comes down to your application being ready, and really being at its best. One thing to know as we go to the next slide is going to be sort of the application decision. So we do have decision by, so you'll get a decision from us by, if you're looking at say round one, November 19th. If you were looking at, say, round three HKUST, you apply in November. You're not getting that decision back until about February 3rd. So keep in mind, those timelines do, sometimes are a little bit more spread out. But we want to give you a little bit of an idea of what that looks like and how much time might be in between your application coming in, going through sort of the reading process, interview if invited, and then getting back your decision from us regarding admission or deny. So keep these in mind as you're looking to apply to the program. And one other thing I do want to note, because I think when you see all these different rounds and everything, I think a lot of people's first tendency is to think, I need to apply in round one. That's my best opportunity to get a scholarship or to be admitted. If I apply in round, three or four or five, I'm not going to get admitted because all the seats are going to be filled. That's not the case. We have seats available in every round. If you put together a great application, you have the opportunity to be admitted. Scholarships, we look at those in the year that you're coming to Yale, not, when you get that initial admissions decision for the M2M program. So keep these things in mind as you're looking at it. Don't rush your application just to get it in for round one if it'll be even better in round two, or maybe if, you can retake that test and maybe you didn't love your test score. Maybe you wanted to get something done and then be able to put in your application, but it won't be ready till round three. That's okay. There was still opportunities there to be admitted and to join us at one of our partner schools and then at Yale. Now, on the flip side, we do also have sort of the GBS standalone program. And this would also run with our concurrent degrees, as well as if maybe you've graduated from the program or from your MIM school program. So if that's the case, our application actually opens on September 16th. We're very excited this year. We have some fun essay questions for you. Always love putting together the video questions and kind of getting your responses and just seeing what students have been doing as they've kind of gotten into their professional or the start of their professional careers. If you're looking at applying, keep these dates in mind. So our first round actually got moved up this year. We are going to have our first round deadline on December 1st. That is open exclusively to GNAM or Global Network for Advanced Management School applicants. Uh, if you're going to be, applying in that, just keep that in mind that it is earlier this year. And then what used to be our round one, but is now round two, is January 12th. This is when application opens up for everyone, or the ability to put in your application is open to everyone from schools all across the globe. And then rounds three and four, February 23rd and March 30th. Again, similar note to the M2M timeline. If your application isn't at its best in round one, that's okay to wait until round two. We accept people in every round. In this, you will find out about merit-based scholarships when you get your decision, just because, you know, this would be the year you would be coming to Yale or joining us here at Yale, so keep that in mind. But again, we want to make sure that you're putting forth your best application when you go to apply. One other thing, and I know we'll talk about it in a minute, I believe Evelyn will talk about it a little bit, is keep these dates in mind as you're thinking about things like visa, housing, all of those sorts of things do come into play. And just keep these dates in mind as we kind of continue to talk throughout this presentation. So with the standalone program, or I guess concurrent because you'd be applying in the year that you're coming, we do have the 4 round deadlines, as I mentioned. And I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what that timeline looks like as well. So you're applying maybe December 1st, January 12th, February 23rd, or March 30th. And then kind of aside from round one, there's usually about a month, month and a half, I guess about the same, between the application deadline and when the decision release date is. So you've got about a month and a half in that time. We'll be reading, we'll be, potentially interviewing you. So keep that date in mind as, all right, this is when I should hear back from them by. And then usually, I believe it's about 2 to 3 weeks afterwards is when we have our enrollment deadline. So that is when you'll need to, let us know, hey, I am planning on enrolling and joining you here. And again, all of these are great opportunities, great timelines. Round four is a little bit tighter of a window to, get to Yale, but just keep these in mind as you're going through the application and as you're thinking about, when is the best time for you to apply to the program. And with that, I will turn it back over to Evelyn to talk a little bit more about those things to consider.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, as Matt mentioned, there's lots of things to consider when you're considering, what round to apply in or which is the best round for you to apply in. And so some of those things we've mentioned here. Application readiness is definitely something, that should be a top priority for you to be thinking about, as Matt mentioned. There are, letters of recommendation that are going to be in your application. And so you're going to need to make sure that you have plenty of time to ask your recommenders to write a great recommendation letter for you. As Matt alluded to as well, we have essays within our application, so you need plenty of time to work on those. And um, yeah, there's your test score. If you be thinking about whether you are happy with your test score or whether you might like to retake it. If you think, you might be able to get a better score, which might more fully represent your capabilities, and therefore, maybe you want a little bit more time to study for the test again and retake it. We do take the GMAT and the GRE. So two different opportunities for test scores for you there. But yeah, those are things to definitely be thinking about and not necessarily want to rush. For example, if you are wanting to retake a test and you're getting close to the December deadline, but you feel like you might need a couple more weeks or you can't schedule a test before that deadline, then it's totally fine to wait until round two, and really get that test score that's going to adequately reflect your abilities in a better way. So application readiness is definitely a top thing to consider for sure. Financial planning is also really important. So while we do give scholarships, we have merit scholarships. These are not, we don't give full ride tuition scholarships. So you are going to need to be able to pay for at least some, if not most of the program, if not all of the program. Not everyone receives a scholarship. So this is definitely an important thing to consider as well. We do work with all of our admitted students to try and help make this program a possibility. Our financial aid team are always available to talk through loan options. Many of our students also look at loan options available from their home countries as well. But again, being able to pay for the program is something that you're going to need to be considering in terms of when is the right time for you to come and join the program. Visas is another big issue as well. So, as Matt was mentioning earlier, applying in an earlier round might be advantageous for you in order to allow a little bit more time to apply for your visa. I know things right now are uh, sometimes taking a little bit longer for international students to get their US visas. So this would be maybe a good reason to apply in an earlier round. So again, great to be thinking about all of these things well in advance in order to determine which is really the best round for you to be applying in. Housing is another option. We don't have a lot of graduate student housing available on the Yale campus, and it goes really fast. The housing that is available gets snapped up really quickly. So our graduate housing application opens on April 1st, I believe. And so if you are planning to apply for this graduate housing, you would need to apply to our programs in either round one or round two. That would then allow you to get your decision back before the April 1st deadline so that you can apply with plenty of time for graduate housing. There's plenty of housing available within the New Haven area that is not our graduate housing. So this is not to say that, you absolutely have to be in a graduate dorm, or, use that as a marker of, you have to apply in round one or round two in order to get some graduate housing. In fact, most of our students don't live on in these grad dorms simply because there aren't very many of them. But something to think about regardless is, if you really do want to live in a graduate dorm, then you should apply in rounds one or round two. Another big important thing to consider is that you should be applying in the year that you plan to enroll. So you should not really be considering this as, a program that I would like to do at some point, but next year is probably not the right time for me because of a family business or a family commitment that I have, or, something else that is going to make it tricky for you to move to the US and be fully immersed in a program, an academic program for a year. So if that is you, then I would suggest, take this time to talk to our admissions ambassadors, connect with our current students and alumni, learn more about the program so that when the time is right for you to be able to come in the following year, you're really able to present the best application and, be really knowledgeable about the program, so that your application is going to be the best when you are ready to come and join the program. And along with that, just to note, our program start date is pretty early in August. So next year, I believe it's going to be August 10th. And this, we're aware that internships can sometimes run longer. And so this is something that you'll need to be considering as you are, in conversation with your employer or just again with family commitments or things like that. It's an important date to note because we do not have flexibility on it. Our orientation program is mandatory, and so it's really important for all of our students to be here on campus by that start date. And so, again, if that's not a date that you are going to be able to meet, then you could consider applying the next year in order to give yourself plenty of time to plan accordingly and be able to be present on campus for that start date. So now that we've talked through kind of different buckets that you might fit into and our different rounds and our timelines, we thought it might be helpful to kind of dive into a couple of different scenarios that candidates sometimes find themselves in and really walk through, which round would be best for you to apply in. So perhaps you are kind of exploring different MIM programs and you're still thinking about applying to a MIM. So we have a couple of different options for you in that case. We have our M2M, our Masters to Master, Master to Master program. Again, this would be our partnership with HSA, HKUST, and UBC. So those three partner schools. And again, you would be applying to the MIM program at that school or perhaps among a couple of different schools or all three of them if you choose, and the GBS program at the same time. So the nice thing about this is that you'll receive your admissions decision for both schools, your MIM school and the GBS program, before you begin your MIM. And so you can really plan out your academic path before you even begin. Likewise, we have our 1+1 programs with Bocconi and ESSEC. So similarly, you would apply to your MIM school first, and then after you get into that program, you would then be able to apply to the GBS program. And again, you would know both of the outcomes of both of these programs before you begin your MIM, so you can plan accordingly. We also have our concurrent degree programs. So you would, if you are interested in a concurrent degree program, you could apply either M2M or 1+1. Both of those would also be concurrent degrees, but you also have the opportunity for several other schools that were listed on the other page. ESMT is one of them. And so in that case, you would apply to your MIM school first, you would get in and you would start the MIM program. And then in your first year of your MIM, you would apply to the GBS program and you would be able to then come to the GBS program in your second year and have credits transferred back to your MIM school. All right, hopefully that helps. So let's talk through our second scenario. If you are currently in your MIM and you found out about the concurrent degree option. So that's kind of like what I was just mentioning. If you've already started your MIM program and you just found out, great, hey, there's this concurrent degree program with the GBS at Yale, and I'm really interested in that. That's wonderful. You would be able to apply in any of our four um, application rounds, but just bear in mind that round one is for global network schools only. So as long as you are in one of the global network schools, you'd be able to apply in rounds 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if your MIM school is not in a part of the global network, you would be able to apply in rounds 2, 3, and 4. Even though you may not be able to apply in round one, you can still start your application as soon as it opens on, which is next week, September 16th. So you can always begin your application at any time. You can even submit it, but whenever you want. But just bear in mind, we won't be able to formally review it or release a decision until the round two dates come around. If you are thinking about applying, but you can't attend the GBS program until the following year. So this is kind of what we were mentioning, like, in terms of readiness for you to be able to move here and begin the program. If you're really interested in the program, but you're not going to be able to commit to come in the following August, we really recommend that you hold on to your application. And then you apply in the following year so that you're able to come, in the year that you've received your admissions decision. So you can still, make the best use of this time by connecting with our current students and alumni, learning more about the program, so that when it does come time to put your application together, you're able to put together a really great application. If you have graduated from a MIM program, but you still have under 3 years of work experience, again, you'd be able to apply to any of our four standard application deadlines, rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4, bearing in mind that round one is open only to GNAM partner schools, students, and alumni. So if you are from a GNAM school, you'd be eligible for round one. And if not, again, you can start your application at any time. Um, we would just be able to review it starting from round two. The other thing I would say here for this case, if a candidate had wanted to gain more work experience, that would also be totally fine. You could continue working, just bearing in mind that you must have less than 3 years of work experience in order to join the GBS program. So if you're right on the cusp, then it's probably a good time to apply to the GBS program now. Or if maybe you only have 1 year work experience and you'd really like to gain another year work experience, um, you think it might strengthen your application or you think it might be great for just for your experience in general, then that's also totally fine. Maybe a good opportunity to save a little bit more for the program as well. But then you would just wait until the following year to apply for the program. Okay, this is a good one. If you are a student attending the HSA MIM and you're thinking about what round to apply in, so HSA has their own kind of guidelines for when students are able or eligible to apply to other joint degree programs. So if you've been admitted and you have begun your MIM program, our best advice is to reach out to the program team there and talk to them about what your deadlines would look like. We do know that you would have to apply by round two. I believe that rounds three and rounds four are a bit too late for HSA students to be able to kind of declare that they'll be studying at another school. So something to think about, particularly for HSA students, is that you'll need to apply on the earlier side, but these dates would follow our regular kind of standalone GBS applications. And so you'd be thinking about a December or a January deadline. And if you are applying and if admitted wanted to live in on-campus housing, this would be the graduate dorms that I was mentioning before, that have an April 1st application deadline. So you would need to have your decision back by April 1st, which would mean a round one or a round two application for you. So again, if you're really wanting to live on campus in a dorm, then you'd need to apply in rounds one or round two. But again, bear in mind that there's plenty of other housing opportunities available, and most of our students don't live on campus housing. So things to think about there. Okay, I'm going to hand this back over to Matt to talk about our timeline a little more.
Thanks. So, just kind of wanting to go back over the timeline. Hopefully, as you're looking at everything, you're starting to see the dates kind of pop up and see when the best time might be. One thing that I do want to highlight with this is, again, our application opens September 16th, so next week. Um, One of the best things you could do if you're looking at the GBS standalone program or concurrent, um, would be to open that application on September 16th. Start the application, open it up, and just start looking through all of the items. I believe Evelyn had mentioned, we've got essays in there, we've got a variety of other things that you're going to need to collect, whether they be recommendations or transcripts and proof of employment. Keep these deadlines in mind, but the sooner you start it, the more time you have to collect those items and think about all of the things that you want to tell us about why you want to come to Yale, how Yale is going to help you take that next step in your career. Um, we have a GBS Q&A on Thursday. We've got a number of info sessions. I know we have an alumni panel webinar that it was in the works. We've got student panel webinar in the works. One of the best ones that I can recommend, and I tell everybody this, open your application September 16th, start working on it. It gives you, 2 months at least to kind of start, work on the essays, work on some of the other items, and then come to our app tips webinar. It is, I believe, late November. I don't remember the exact date, but our application tips webinar. Come to that and openly listen and think about your application. Think about, your essays and everything that you've put together and see if there is anything that you're like, ooh, I could make this a little better, or ooh, they mentioned this and, I don't know if I did that well enough. Really think about everything on your application. And then once you've done that, you'll still have at least a week to, kind of fine tune anything you want to if you're applying in that round one period, or you'll have at least a month before applying in the round two, three, four time frame. Keep that in mind because it's really going to allow you to make sure that your application is at its best when it comes time to put it in. And I think it makes just everything a lot easier. It makes you feel more confident and comfortable submitting that application and feeling like you've done a great job. So keep these deadlines in mind. Keep some of those webinars and other events that we have coming up in mind. Also note that we are going to be traveling to some of your schools. So I know I'm going to UBC in next week. I know Evelyn is going to, I believe, Paris, right? In France. Or no, you're going to the UK.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking of the UK. Kate went there last year.
Yeah, no,
Um,
all good.
so Evelyn's going to be going over to the UK. We've got members of the team going to France and Asia. So keep checking in, find out where we're going, and definitely connect with us. We're happy to talk a little bit further about, any questions you have and all that. So just keep all of these deadlines in mind, stay in touch with us. We're happy to answer questions.
Great, thanks, Matt. And on that note, so we're gonna leave a little time now for open Q&A. So if you have any questions that we haven't answered today, or any additional questions at all, please feel free to enter them in the chat now, and we'd be happy, or the Q&A, and we'd be happy to take a little bit of time and answer anything that might still be a question for you. I see we have a couple here now, so we'll go into those in just a minute, but just to mention what's on the slide first. We have a QR code here, which will take you to our events page. So Matt just gave a great overview of kind of some events that we have coming up. Um, Again, we have a Q&A, a live Q&A session that I'll be doing this coming Thursday at 11 a.m. So, if you have anything that we're not able to answer today, or that a question that comes to you a little bit later, please join us for that. These sessions are really great. They're informal. They're small groups, so they're an opportunity for you to kind of take an opportunity to chat one-on-one with an admissions committee member, ask candidly any questions that you have at all, and we're happy to answer as best we can. And yeah, so they're small groups. So we really encourage everybody to turn on their camera and kind of make it feel more like a coffee chat environment than a little bit more of a formal presentation. So again, would love to see you there this week. If you're not available this week, then we generally host these Q&A sessions monthly. So plenty more opportunities to join before our application deadlines come around. Yeah, as Matt mentioned, we'll be traveling this fall as well. So if we happen to be in a city near you, would love to connect with you. Um, or we'll be hosting, additional webinars throughout the year and throughout the fall. So always check back on our website for sign up links and for the latest webinars or events that are coming up. And then, of course, we'd love to hear from you just over our email. If you think of anything else, gbs@yale.edu is the best way to reach us. Um, okay, great. Let's dive into the Q&A. I have a couple pre-submitted questions on hand as well to answer if we have time to get to those. I'm sure we will, but let's see what we've got for questions right now. I saw a couple come in. Okay, it looks like the first one, can you be an MBA graduate and still eligible for the program? So the answer actually is no. If you have an MBA, you are not eligible for the GBS, but we do have a program for you. We have another program called an MAM, a Master of Advanced Management. And it's a very kind of similar program to the GBS. In that it's a very flexible, there's a very flexible curriculum. The program runs for the same duration, 1 year or 9 months from August through May. And so if you already have an MBA or you are working towards an MBA, the MAM is the right program for you and not the GBS. Happy to connect with you offline to share more information about the MAM program. Again, we'll have webinars up on our website too, but feel free to reach out to us at gbs@yale.edu just for now, and then it's the same admissions team, so we'll connect with you and share more information about that program. But that would be the one for you.
I'm seeing a question here about, who can apply for the Global Network schools, it sounds like. So the Global Network is, I believe, 30, is it 33 schools? 32 schools right now that have joined together to create this network that oftentimes students can do global network weeks or sort of like an exchange week at a partner school. And it's a really great group that we have. If you're unsure, you can either check online on the GNAM or Global Network website, or check with your dean or director. They should know and be able to tell you a little bit more. Um, it is exclusive to, students from those programs. There is the biggest advantage to applying in round one, and I just want to emphasize this, is the fact that you do get to apply a little bit earlier, so you get that decision sooner and have the opportunity to start working on, as Evelyn mentioned, your visa, your housing, all of that sort of stuff. That's really the biggest benefit that you're getting. We are not looking at those students differently than another student in terms of, it's not an easier pathway in or anything like that. So just because you aren't from a global network school, I do want to make sure you're not going to be looked at as less than or anything of the sort.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Matt. Great question. And as Matt mentioned, if you just go online and type in Global Network for Advanced Management, you'll be able to pull up the website really easily and find the list of all the business schools, which are spread across the world. We have representation in every continent. So yeah, so great opportunity for to find out more information about our GNM partner schools there. So we had another question submitted asking if it was possible to come and join the program at 21 years old with just 1.5 years of work experience from somebody who's currently doing their bachelor's or their undergrad degree. So the answer is yes, but you will need to do a MIM program first. So you cannot come straight from your undergrad or from your bachelor's degree into the GBS program. You need to have a master in management or be working towards a master in management first. So for the candidate who asked this question, it would be a great opportunity for you to look into our M2M or our 1+1 partner schools if you're interested in applying for both programs at the same time. And that way, you'll be able to plan out your next couple of years, and you also have the ability with our M2M and with our 1+1 partner schools to take a gap year in between your MIM program and your GBS program if you're interested in gaining a bit more work experience. That's also something that you could consider. So yes, you can come to Yale. You know, at 21, I suppose, but you need to have completed or at least begun a master in management program first. Um, Great. We have another question about scholarships and whether we have fully funded scholarships. Matt, do you want to take that one?
So we do not have fully funded scholarships. As Evelyn, I believe, mentioned, most of our scholarships, I think they go up to about half tuition, give or take, and they're merit-based scholarships. So you do need to make sure that you're considering that funding piece in the equation. We try to work with every student as best we can, but it's something that a lot of our students, they speak with our financial aid team, if admitted, and kind of discuss some of the options if necessary. I know a lot of times home countries will offer different scholarship opportunities. There's like the Fulbright scholarship. There's a variety of different scholarships outside of Yale that, you should definitely look into as you're looking to apply. But scholarship wise, most range from, anywhere from up to about half tuition is where it is. And that's, the best of the best in our class, usually.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Matt. Another candidate was asking about what we look for in our candidates and kind of how to submit a good application. So this is a great question. I would also kind of echo what Matt said earlier. Look out for our application tips webinar, which will be coming up in a couple of months. We'll definitely be diving into this in a lot more detail. But I can just kind of give a short answer for right now, which is that we take a really holistic approach to reading applications, and so there's lots of different ways to stand out. Of course, we're looking for academic excellence, and that is kind of demonstrated through your transcripts and how you performed both in your undergrad and in your MIM degrees, and then also your test scores. So I see another question here about test scores and kind of what the average test score or minimum test score is, and we actually don't release that. We don't have that information because we take such a holistic approach to reading applications. So there's no minimum score to apply, and we don't want to release average test scores because we don't want to deter anyone or make, we want people to really take the test score seriously as one element of the application that, of course, we do look at. But it is only one element of the application. So, in addition to academic excellence, we're also looking at your work experience and your work goals. So, of course, we know this is a pre-experience program, and so we're not expecting you to have a lot of work experience. In fact, you must have less than 3 years of work experience, but considering what you've been doing and what your goals are and what you would like to do in your career and your leadership potential is something that we're focusing on as well as kind of international experience, international interest. We have a very international program here. The GBS program tends to be nearly 100% international each year. And so, kind of cultural sensitivity and cross-cultural experience is something that is definitely a plus in your applications as well. So, again, lots of different ways that you could stand out as an applicant to the GBS program. Did I miss anything, Matt? Do you want to add anything there?
I think the only thing that I would add, aside from echoing everything that you said, is make sure you're being genuine and honest. I think the people that have put in some of the best applications have been genuine, have been honest about, here are my career goals, here's, who I am, and kind of showcasing that. The people that it kind of becomes a love letter to Yale, we're able to see that pretty easily. And I think oftentimes it kind of overshadows. Maybe they've done some great things, but it almost gets lost in, okay, do they really need Yale? Do they know why, like how Yale can help them? It kind of gets lost sometimes versus the person that genuinely is excited about the opportunity and can talk about the courses and the clubs and all the great things. I think that genuineness really shines and it really helps to just add a little bit more to the application. As Evelyn was saying, we do look at test scores, we are looking at the grades. All of those things are important, but be genuine and really be yourself and let yourself shine in the application. And if that means waiting an extra round or waiting until round two, that's okay.
Thanks, Matt. That's really good advice. And that really actually hands in nicely to the last question here that I have, which is how to best highlight kind of an unconventional path in the application. And so, really, as Matt just mentioned, don't be shy about that experience. We really love to see unconventional paths into our program. And I think the most important thing about that is to tell us the story. What made you pursue this unconventional thing that you did, and what did you gain from it, and what relevance does it have to what you're doing now? Kind of make us understand, um, the path that you walked and why you chose to do that and what you gained from it. I think that's um, the most important thing. If it doesn't make sense to us, if you just have these kind of seemingly unrelated things sprinkled through your resume, then that's probably not the best. But if you use the essays and the video questions to really kind of explain how these things connect together and what the common threads are between your experiences and your interests and things like that, then that's really going to help us to understand kind of who you are and what your interests are and where you're looking to go and kind of how those experiences are going to help you get there. So again, I think that the best advice that I could give for candidates who may have an unconventional either career path or work experience would really just be to kind of help us understand your story and use the application in order to do that. We also have an optional essay section. I think this year we have four essay questions actually, which is exciting. But there's always an opportunity for candidates who want to kind of share something additional to submit an optional essay. Please don't make it long, don't give us lots and lots of pages to read. We have lots of applications to read as it is. Um, but again, if there's something kind of special or unique, or you'd like to share something that you don't feel is being properly explained through the application, just by looking at your resume or your other essay questions, that's why the optional essay is there for you to be able to kind of explain and tell your story to help us understand your path and what led you to where you are today. So I think that's what I would say. Any other thoughts on that, Matt?
Um, I think also, have a little bit of fun with it. Like Evelyn's saying, be yourself as we're kind of talking about all that. I know I'm really excited. One of our new essays, the essay question, I think is going to be really interesting and really going to show a lot. Just be honest, have some fun with it. It's a great opportunity to really highlight, who you are, what you've done, and, be proud of the accomplishments you've made. over the years and, talk about those. Yeah, I think really just being genuine and having fun in the application process, being able to talk about the great things that you've done and look to do. I think if you do that, you'll set yourself up for success.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you, Matt. Well, I don't see any other questions, so hopefully we answered everything today that anyone out there had burning. But if you think of anything after we sign off, please feel free to reach out to us. gbs@yale.edu is the best way to get hold of us. And of course, again, the QR code there will take you to our events website. And we'd love to see you later this week to answer any more questions you might have. But we're always here. We love talking to candidates. We love answering questions. Never hesitate to reach out, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Thanks so much for joining today.